Jay White has returned to AEW, Mercedes Mone has won the Women's Owen Hart Foundation Tournament, and Will Ospreay has won the Men's Owen Hart Foundation Tournament. That and so much more as we go over AEW Forbidden Door. We open up the night with the Young Bucks versus El Sky Team versus Unbound Company. Mystico would catapult Dorada into a Hurricane Rana on Titan onto everyone on the outside. Shingo would take out everyone, but El Sky Team and the Bucks would kip up, and all four men would superkick Shingo. And in the end, the Young Bucks would hit the TK driver on Titan to pick up the victory. What an opener for Forbidden Door. If you need a good pay-per-view opener, just call the Young Bucks. Next up is Kenny Omega versus Zack Sabre Jr. Kenny would throw the announce table cover onto Zack, and he would stomp him from the apron. Kenny would go for an avalanche one-winged angel, but Zack would be able to slip into a sleeper hold. Kenny would drop from the middle rope with Zack on his back to counter it. Kenny would go for the one-winged angel, but Zack would reverse it into an arm bar, but Kenny would lift him up with one arm for a power bomb. And in the end, Kenny would be able to hit the one-winged angel to put down Zack and pick up the victory. What a damn match. Kenny was a lot more aggressive in this one, because you know if he would get technical with Zack, Zack would eat him alive. But he more than earned this victory, and now Kenny is ready for redemption, and Kenny is ready for the AEW World Championship. Next up is Bandido versus Jon Moxley for the AEW Continental Championship. Moxley would hit Bandido with a pile driver on the steel steps, and Bandido would be busted open, and Moxley would make it worse by biting his head and tearing at Bandido's mask, nearly ripping the whole damn thing off. Moxley would go for the Death Rider off the top rope, but Bandido would get revenge and bites Moxley, and Bandido would hit a body slam moonsault off the top. Moxley would have the Bulldog choke in, but Bandido would not quit, and he lifts up with Moxley on his back, and he falls back to try to escape, but unfortunately Moxley still has him in the sleeper hold, and Bandido would soon pass out, and Jon Moxley would retain the Continental Championship. I thought Bandido was going to win this one. When Bandido started bleeding and he started putting on an underdog performance, I thought he had it. After the match though, Moxley and Bandido would show each other respect after a great match between these two. Next up is Pac versus Shota Umino for the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship. Shota would hit a springboard DDT on the apron. Shota would hit a spike DDT off the barricade onto the floor. Pac would hit a belly-to-belly suplex off the top rope. Pac would throw Shota onto the outside through a table. And in the end, Shota would hit a Northern Lights bomb to win the match and retain his Global Heavyweight Championship. What a great match, and what a first-time viewing of Shota Umino. I definitely like what I see from him, and will definitely have to watch more of his matches. After the match, Moxley would be in the ring with his former protege Shota, but as they stared down, the music of the ace Hiroshi Tanahashi would hit, and he makes his way down to the ring. And Moxley runs, still scared of Tanahashi, and Tanahashi would wrap the belt around Shota's waist, giving him a huge endorsement. Next up is Thekla versus Starlight Kid for the AEW Women's World Championship. Starlight Kid would hit Thekla with a divine punishment on the apron. Starlight would have Thekla in the numero dos. Even though she has it in locked tight, Thekla would make it to the ropes, but ultimately Thekla would hit the curb stomp to win the match and retain her Women's World Championship. This is probably Tekla's best defense so far. After the match, Thekla would have scissors and would cut the mask of Starlight Kid and takes it off of her. She spits in the mask and rubs it in the face of the Stardom president. Now Thekla has her World Championship and a trophy she took from Starlight Kid. Next up is Christian Cage and Adam Copeland versus the Dogs for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. Cope would catapult Finley into a mid-air spear by Cage, but as the ref is counting, Connors would push Cage into the ref. While the ref is down, Finley would hit Cage with a shillelagh, and as he's gonna hit Cope, the lights go out, and the Bang Bang Gang would be on top of the stage, but they're not alone as Jay White would make his return to AEW, and he hits a Blade Runner on Finley, and Cope would hit the spear on Finley to win the match and retain the Tag Team Championships. But most importantly, Jay White is back in AEW for the first time in over a year. It's about damn time. Next up is Mercedes Mone versus Maya World in the finals of the Women's Owen Hart Foundation Tournament. Mercedes would be in the driver's seat early on, and she's just oozing confidence. She even does a little premature victory lap. Mercedes would sunset flip bomb Maya into the corner. Maya would hit a sunset flip bomb onto the outside to get her back. Mercedes would have Maya in the statement maker, and she's fighting with everything she's got. The crowd is fully behind her. She's almost at the ropes, but Mercedes pulls her back, and unfortunately Maya Ward would soon tap out, and Mercedes Mone would win the Owen Hart Foundation Tournament for the second year in a row. Congratulations to Mercedes Mone, but Maya Ward should be proud too. She might not have won the match, but what a run she had in the Owen Hart Foundation Tournament. She has more than established herself in AEW. Everyone was fully behind her in this match, and I can guarantee you her brother is watching over her with a smile on his face. After the match, Athena would be talking absolute shit about Maya, saying she's a disappointment as her pupil. Maybe this is setting up Maya to be the one to dethrone Athena. Who knows? I'm all in for it. Next up is MJF and the Don Callis family versus the Conglomeration, Darby Allin, and Konosuke Takeshita in a steel steel cage match. Kyle O'Reilly will pull out an NES out of a backpack, and Kyle and Mark would beat up the Don Callis family with NES controllers. Kyle O'Reilly would hit Kyle Fletcher with the NES, but he did make sure to blow on the cartridge before he did, don't worry. MJF would back body drop Darby Allin face first onto thumbtacks. Orange Cassidy would pull out orange slices that Willow packed for them, and they all have an orange break, but they would squeeze orange juice on Kyle Fletcher's busted head. Takeshita would look into a bag, and he pulls out a middle finger for Okada. Okada would be holding Takeshita for Kyle to kick him, but Kyle would accidentally kick Okada, and Takeshita would double German suplex both Kyle and Okada. Okada would open a bag, and Leo Rush would be in it, and he gets a huge reaction. He gets out of the bag and bites Okada's finger, and Leo Rush wants MJF's ring. It's his precious. But the Don Callis family would stuff Leo back into the bag. Takeshita would hit Kyle with a blue thunderbomb off the apron through a table. Kevin Knight and Darby Allin would be on top of the cage, and Kevin Knight picks up a bag Darby placed earlier, and it explodes and causes Kevin to fall through a mountain of tables. It was all a booby trap, and Darby would hit a coffin drop off the top of the cage onto everyone. MJF would make Andrade hold Mark Briscoe, and as MJF is going to hit Mark Briscoe with the ring, Andrade hits MJF with a back elbow, and Andrade kicks Jack Doyle in the dick, and he tears off his shirt to reveal a shirt that says "Fuck Don" and "Fuck MJF. And Mark Briscoe would hit the J Driller on Jack Doyle and would win the match for his team, and now Mark Briscoe has an opportunity against MJF for the AEW World Championship. What a match. It was just pure fun all around. Backstage, Mark Briscoe would tell MJF he wants his title shot on Dynamite this weekend. Damn, he didn't waste any time. And we move on to the main event, Swerve Strickland versus Will Ospreay in the finals of the men's Owen Hart Foundation tournament. Swerve would catapult Ospreay into the exposed turnbuckle, and Ospreay would be busted open. Ospreay would sling Swerve into the steel steps, and Swerve would be oozing blood. Ospreay doesn't hesitate, and he smashes Swerve's head into the steel steps. Ospreay would Styles Clash Swerve onto the announce table, and it's an absolute bloodbath everywhere around the ring. Swerve would push Ospreay into the ref, and he would low blow him, and that would allow Swerve to hit the vertebreaker, but Ospreay would kick out. The Death Riders would soon come out to help motivate Ospreay, and Swerve would hit the house call, but Ospreay eats it as he looks at Moxley. But in the end, Ospreay would hit the Tiger Driver to win the match and win the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. This was a great match, but they did start to do a little bit too much at the end, and it's definitely not better than last year's Owen Hart Foundation final. And now Ospreay is going to Wembley Stadium to try and capture the AEW World Championship. Ospreay would hold up the trophy on the shoulders of the Death Riders, and he would celebrate with his wife, Alex Windsor. And the show ends with Will Ospreay holding the Owen Hart Foundation belt. And that was AEW Forbidden Door, another absolutely fantastic pay-per-view from AEW. Though, can we cut some of the match time, please? This shit ended close to fucking 1 in the morning. I appreciate you wanting to give us our money's worth, Tony, but hot damn. All these matches were absolutely great. The Dogs and Copeland cage tag match was, I didn't really like it. And the Thekla and Starlight Kid match was kinda underwhelming. It was still good, but not as good as I thought it would be. The Zack and Kenny match was great. First time watching Shota Umino, and he looks great. Jay White's back. Mercedes and Maya World put on a great match, and Maya put on an amazing performance and showed that she more than belongs in AEW. And then the steel cage match was absolute fun and chaotic, and it's just fun. I love it. And then the main event was great, though it started to get a little bit bullshitty at the end. It was still great. I don't know where Forbidden Door ranks in terms of this year's pay-per-views already, but man, it's another damn good one. Now we look forward to AEW Redemption, a new pay-per-view. Ooh, what's gonna happen there? We'll just have to find out. But let me know what you all think of Forbidden Door in the comments. Did you think Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland was the worst wrestling match you've ever seen? Let me know. But most importantly, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I'll make more silly videos like this in the future, so stop on by when the time comes. But until then, be careful.